to me, talk to me. If you feel the need or when you need the feeling, talk to me. If you feel the need or when you need the feeling, talk to me.
Hello everyone, I'm Timothy Go. Once a technophobe, but not anymore. Why? Take a look at this. And check this out. I'm the new me. Slim, sexy, and cool. Just like this place. The marriage of technology and fashion. A marriage made in heaven? The perfect union. But sometimes both can have irreconcilable differences. And that could mean a fashion disaster. So we'll put form and function to the fashion test and see who scores in the digital lifestyle. Last year, American retailer Gap Kids started selling Hoodio, a machine-washable hooded fleece jacket with an FM radio control panel sewn onto the sleeve. And the hood didn't just keep you warm while keeping you looking cool, it also housed removable speakers. But that's nothing new. A few years back, a company called Infineon Technologies touted jackets with sewn-in headphones, controls, and MP3 players. Yes, clothiers and manufacturers have both been trying to find that sexy combination between fashion and function. That's why Samsung, with its couture phones, is teaming up with unorthodox fashion designer Anna Sui.
At the end of the day, fashion designers need to respond to consumer demand. They need to keep moving. They need to be new and exciting and fresh. Each season, they've got to come up with a new idea and a new collection. So I think that marriage of technology is something we're going to see more and more. We've seen it in the use of fabrics, and I think we're going to see it in the use of technology in the future.
But I'm not sure. I mean, just how important is high-tech to high fashion? Take a look around. It seems tech companies are now pushing for even shorter product design cycles so that they can be in tune with fashion cycles. So, is the inevitable meeting of minds really evolving before our eyes, giving tech the space to merge with fashion, to produce form factors that quench our thirst for technology that we can wear all the time?
Just going into the fashion site isn't enough. Obviously, fashion is a very fickle thing. So it's also a case where that fashion has to strike the right target. And the fashion world can be pretty tough, right? Like I said, because it's so fickle, you could easily miss the mark. So maybe it's a case of tying up with some partners, be it in the fashion world or even in the industrial design world. But the thing is, at the end of the day, the product has to strike the right chord with the consumer. And it's really that, that emotional sense and that emotional tie that becomes important.
This means that companies must go beyond logo slang. A fancy label plastered onto a generic tech product won't travel off the catwalk or assembly line. Fashion must matter, as it is relatively cheaper to assemble commodity technology right now. The difference is the whole package, from implementation of function to style. And that's parallel with fashion, because consumers buy into a particular brand or designer of clothes, because the appeal is much more than just the basic function. People make their choice because of the perceived enhancement to their life in style, value, as well as function.
I don't see that as a contradiction. But many times it's a cost decision. Cost is that if we want to put in more technology and then we want to put it more fashionable, you might have to put in more cost. So can we sell higher price? Okay. Or can we accept lower margin? The market is huge, so we're going to drive our cost down to really provide the best of the two worlds. Both a lot of technologies, a lot of features, and a lot of style. This one, for example, the blue mesmerizing blue glow that actually breathes slowly in and out, and also I think costs us a lot of money, okay, compared to other people. Okay, it costs a lot of money to put that feature in, very sexy, very glow, and really grabs people's attention.
From geek to chic. Yes, one fashion guru has put it, this is the age where technology is an extension of personal style. So, what happens on the catwalk is relevant to tech product design. But who buys them? That's a big question.
It starts with the trendsetters, doesn't it? You know, all the cool, fashionably stylish people that are the early adapters to new technology. I mean, they're going to be the ones that you're going to be seeing wearing, you know, the cool coats and the jackets with the mobile technology built into it. And then, of course, everybody else follows. And that's what fashion's all about.
The latest Apple iPod Shuffle is one good fashion rewriter. It lacks the functions found in competitors' products, yet it's a smash. Because what differentiates consumer electronics in the future will not involve just pressing the right buttons literally and figuratively. It will be about how you implement and package those functions. Once again, a proof for the truism that form informs function, except that in the case of the iPod Shuffles, form is style. Beyond looks, you'll find that the electronics industry is an industry built on standards. This means at the end of the day, any change, even if it's just cosmetic, will stand out. Well, coming up after the break, we'll take a look at why manufacturers are taking this route.
Talk to me. Talk to me.
If your digital stash, like your PDA, your phone, your notebook, or your MP3 player is starting to create an unsightly bulge, well, worry not, because Fashion Fix is on the way. Fashion and technology have put their opposing brains together to create what they now call wearable electronics. And unlike previous attempts by companies to hawk clothes with computers, the wearables now are more subtle and fashionable.
How does it feel to wear a computer? I find it both fascinating and terrifying that the lines between man and machine has become less distinct as technology evolves. The vast electronic universe is getting smaller and smaller as computers that once filled our warehouses now barely fill our pockets. Over the years, we have seen the evolution in appliances, devices, personal and wearable computers. And short of sounding like a bad sci-fi movie, believe it or not, we do have in our midst cyborgs. This is a growing community of people who are committed to developing and wearing prototypes of digital fashion all the time.
Fashionable doesn't necessarily mean wearable in the literal sense, right? We don't necessarily see people wearing iPods hanging from their necks or something like that. Fashionable more in the sense that, you know, when you take the product out in a public area and people see you with that device, then people may have an impression upon you. So, you know, if I take out my iPod while I'm on the bus, or, you know, or even if I'm walking down the street with my iPod, or the phone that I pull out of my pocket, that's the kind of thing that people see. It may not necessarily be literally wearable, but it's that item that is figuratively attached to you.
But wait a minute. Will my digital adventure mean I will end up like a cyborg or even dress like one? I mean, if I change the definition of cyborg to the noun meaning user of or highly dependent on modern and advanced technology, then most of us in the tech-savvy society are in fact cyborgs. Which brings me to mobile phones, perhaps the most wearable technology we have today, and with a Bluetooth headset, we are closer to the cyborg realm sooner than we think. So how wearable can phone fashion be versus function?
Technology is only an enabler, I would say. You know, technology enables the consumers to enjoy certain benefits of the phone. So that is the aspects that we concentrate on, which is the benefits to the consumers. So by adding like form factors like this, like fabric design, introducing geometric shapes and colors to the phone, we're giving consumers an added choice, would you say, to match their lifestyle. But there's no compromise definitely on the functionalities and of course the ease of use of the phone.
Well, these days it's not enough to have a phone that can make a call or send SMS. You have phones that you can dress up or strip down naked if you want to. You've got phones with a mirror to check yourself out at night.
But how far will fashion take this whole phone technology? We have with us today Wee Kee, the marketing manager of Nokia in Singapore, to tell us all about fashion and technology. Well, Wee Kee, how far do you think this whole fashion thing will go when it comes to technology? Take this one, for example. It's small, it's thin, it has a mirror.
Yeah.
But I've heard it's quite hard to use because you don't really have a keypad on the phone.
Okay, I think the keypad is quite unique in the sense that it uses like a dial. We call it a navi spinner. So in terms of SMSing, you actually have to use the navi spinner to do the characters. But it's just a little bit of getting used to.
So who's the target of a phone like this?
Well, this phone is actually positioned more like a night phone for the young and the hip and trendy, I would say. Especially for those who like to visit the night spots, this is like a perfect fit for their small little handbags.
Before you think there are no fashion disasters, let me trot out contender number 1, hailing from Europe. The Siemens Celebri. It's a line of wearable fashion phones that emphasizes form over function. No winning points from the public judging either for this Nokia candidate.
This is quite different from all your other phones. So
Yeah.
how do you expect Nokia users, loyal Nokia users, to actually adapt to this kind of phone?
In terms of the user interface for this phone, it's actually very much the same as the other phones. It actually follows the same kind of ease of use and the familiar steps that the customers are used to. So the only difference is that instead of vertically, the menu is actually horizontally, and it's actually appearing on the screen, so consumers can see it.
And you navigate it through this.
Yeah, you navigate
this
it by just simply spinning the navi spinner,
Okay.
and then just pressing in the center to actually capture and select the function as you want. Yeah. There are other exciting features on this phone as well, like voice dialing.
Well, I guess this is just an ongoing trend to merge technology with our everyday lifestyle. And carrying one, in some cases wearing them, is like a fashion statement on who you are.
My concern about wearable computing is honestly it's still, I'm sure it was derived from Star Trek and science fiction fantasy, right? You have all these headsets, and beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? So depending on the audience, people may think, oh, that guy's a geek. Or they may think, hey, that guy's cool. That really depends on the audience. And, wearable computing theoretically could go somewhere if you're really talking about it from that sense. But at the same time, wearable computing also has the limits coming back to that functionality argument, right? If it's not as functional, if you're inputting it into your wrist, you may not necessarily be able to do as good of a job as you did with a notebook. So wearable computing, even if it is fashionably acceptable by some audiences, if it compromises on the functionality, it's still going to be a problem.
Well, is the technology race over, or are we just too caught up in looking at form and fashion rather than function? A test run is coming up in a few minutes.
Talk to me. Talk to me.
As style becomes increasingly common in electronics, gadget manufacturers are actually creating devices that are functional and stylish. All right, it's now time to meet Mr. Shirtmaster right here and his partner, Denise Tan. Welcome, Denise.
Hi, thank you.
So, how long have you guys been together?
Well, we're in a very new relationship. The Bosch Shirtmaster has been around since the year 2004. It started in Europe, and now it's on its first leg of the Asian tour, the first time in Asia and first time in Singapore.
All right, sounds exciting, and he's feeling quite warm. Can you tell us how Mr. Shirtmaster performs?
Yes, this warm guy over here performs in a very simple way. All you need is a PowerPoint, really, and when you turn on the machine, you select a program over here, and you can select from a choice of silk, viscose, cotton, linen, and it's meant specifically for shirts and blouses, tops, where you can button down. The hot air travels through this parachute silk material, blows it up, and it dries, steams, and irons your shirt in
So
8
Mr.
minutes.
Shirt Master dries, steams, and iron. Here's a clean wet shirt, I should say, right
Yes,
here.
it's damp.
Show us what your mister can do.
Okay, sure. Very simply, put it on and attach the collar first, just as a guide. Clip it on this way, like so.
So here I am talking to Mr. Shirt Master and his partner into ironing my shirt. He could just be the answer to my hours of boredom stuck in front of the ironing board. With 12 programmable functions and a price at $2,899, it's a hefty investment for a piece of souped-up mannequin. Love him or loathe him, one thing's for sure, this will be up there among one of the things geeks must have. Then again, maybe a new wearable clothing technology may just do away with the ironing part. Let's get back to Mr. Shirtmaster now and his partner Denise.
Once the appliance is warmed up, you only need to do it once. It would automatically fill up with air and start drying your shirt in about 8 minutes.
All right, while we're waiting for the shirt to dry up, what's the difference between this and your regular ironing machine?
Well, for regular ironing...
Oh, there it goes.
There you go. All you need to do... it's not straight over here. Yep, exactly. You can just adjust it as you go along.
All right, while we're waiting for Mr. Shirtmaster here to dry the shirt up, what's the difference between using something like this and your flat iron?
Well, the flat iron puts a lot of direct heat on your clothing, and when you've got shirts or blouses with appliques, beads, buttons, and sequins, you run a high risk of ruining it. So a shirt master like this doesn't ruin your fabrics. It takes very gentle care of them, and of course it looks after your decorations and buttons because the heat is quite controlled.
Any risk of perhaps burning a shirt when you leave it on for more than 8 minutes?
There's no risk of burning, and there's no risk of over drying either, because there's a beeper tone at the end of the cycle to show you when the drying's done.
All right, Mr. Shirtless here sounds quite the hot stuff.
It is hot stuff.
Who's going to buy something like this?
Oh, we have a pretty wide target audience. I think busy housewives would like something like this, so they've got a lot more time to play with the kids, to cook, to do basically things that they like to do at home. But we have a rather specific group as well, and these are the people who hate ironing shirts, who hate ironing blouses. They're busy professionals, perhaps. We're looking at trendsetters who like innovative products like this. We've done a calculation, and if you send your shirts to a laundromat, for example, it's going to cost you $5 or $6 a shirt. And when you use this, it costs less than 5 cents per shirt.
It looks like the shirt is dry. How do you take it off from this Mr. Shirtmaster?
Yeah, there's an automatic beeper that sounds once it's done. So assuming that it's done, simply unhook all the clasps and release the cuff grips.
Okay.
As well as the collar clips here. And what you do is simply remove this out of the sleeves.
Okay.
Yep. And you can put it on right away.
Straight on. This shirt
It's
is quite
crisp and dry.
huge, but it's really dry. Well, I'm not sure about getting a flatmate who can iron and not talk back is a good idea, though it is quite tempting. What I know is I'm set to change my world, and in the few weeks that I've gone on this digital discovery, what have I discovered? Well, look at all this. Geek is neat, function is fashionable, and Tim can get with it with IT. So I guess this is the perfect timing to take a break from our digital discoveries and also thank you for being a part of our journey. Until we meet again, perhaps in a different digital world. I'm Timothy Go, logging off for good.
I'm Timothy Go, your host for a brand new series on the gizmos that have changed and will continue to change our lives.
And being more familiar with items like this voice recorder, I guess I'm the best person to take you along on a journey of discovery into the tech world.
Talk to me. Talk to me.
Of the city's airport.
For about 72 hours, I didn't sleep. That's kind of a typical couple of weeks for me.
This week, we're going to dive into the world of video gaming. It's a $10 million industry that causes mass hysteria and long queues every time a new product hits the market. All that this week, Thursdays at 8:30 on Channel News Asia. The kitchen is perhaps where all gadgets, kitchen gadgets work well. It's user-friendly, it works, it doesn't crash, and it doesn't cost a bomb. A result of how technology can fuse successfully with practicality, at least when I'm cooking. But when it comes to the living room, why do we need processors or hard drives or a PDA? Find out in this week's episode. We are putting the smarts at home. Thursdays at 8:30 on Channel News Asia. On the surface, it seems harmless enough. A small inconvenience easily solved by a click of a button. But believe it or not, spam is in a whole new ballgame. Just by answering your phone can open up the floodgates. So are we totally defenseless against spam? Thursdays at 8:30 on Channel News Asia. Once upon a time, it was a bunch of people connected by microwaves. Last Christmas, 4.6 million units of this were sold, making it the biggest selling MP3 player in the world. This little box of music right here that plays digital files is driving an industry. Fad or phenomenon? Find out as we cruise into this new music culture on That's IT. This Thursday, 7:30 on Channel News Asia. For the past 6 weeks, I've been on a digital discovery, meeting gadgets, geeks, games, and the gee whiz, a whole community that makes up the digital lifestyle. So what's next? How about dressing up like one? Join me on my final discovery: form, function, and some fashion. Thursdays at 8:30 on Channel News Asia.